our voice in the world.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International.
Hello and welcome to this news bulletin in English. And without further ado, let's listen to the President of the Independent Authority, Mr. Sharfi.
سيداتي سادتي السلام عليكم ورحمة الله تعالى وبركاته. سأتقدم أمامكم بآخر معطيات رقمية للساعة 1 إن شاء الله بالخارج وداخل الوطن. وحتى لا نطيل عليكم، النسب بالنسبة للولايات ولاية بولاية راهي موجودة في المنصة مباشرة، وبالتالي نكتفي يعني بمعطيتين فقط يعني بالخارج، هو عدد المسجلين وعدد المصوتين والنسبة نسبة المشاركة يعني. بسم الله الرحمن الرحيم. إذن بالخارج على الساعة 1 كانت عدد المسجلين بالطبع ما تغيرش، هو 865,490، وعدد المصوتين صار 140,015، مما يعطينا نسبة المشاركة على الساعة 1 بالخارج 16.18%. أما بداخل الوطن على الساعة 1 بالطبع الكتلة الانتخابية الوطنية ما تغيرتش، 23,486,061 عدد المسجلين، وعدد المصوتين على الساعة 1 بالغ داخل الوطن 3,78,334، مما يعطينا نسبة مشاركة على الساعة 1 ب 13.11%. هذه يعني المعطيات المتوفرة على الساعة 1، وشكرا لكم إلى الفترة الآتية إن شاء الله.
شكرا لك سيد شرفي. إذن هذه آخر المعطيات.
This is the English service of Radio Algeria International. It's time for the news.
Polling stations opened today morning at 8 a.m. throughout the national territory, where more than 24 million Algerians are called to elect a new president of the republic for a 5-year mandate. The September 7th presidential election has attracted the attention of the national press with headlines devoted to special edition to the event, stressing the importance of the Algerians who responded to the call of vote. Those were the headlines, and now the news in detail from Radio Algeria International. First in our news, polling stations opened today morning at 8 a.m. throughout the national territory, where more than 24 million Algerians are called to elect a new president of the republic for a 5-year mandate. Voters will have to choose a new president of the republic among the 3 candidates running in the race, namely the candidate of the Socialist Forces Party or Front FFS, Youssef Aouchiche, independent candidate, Mr. Abdelmajid Tebboune, and the candidate of the Movement of Society for Peace, Mr. Abdel Ali Hassani Sharif. The figures provided by the National Independent Electoral Authority show that 24,351,551 voters, including 23,486 and 61 at the national level, which is split between men and women, 47% of women and 53% of men, with 36% of the voters aged 40 and below. As for the number of polling stations, the president of ANI, Mohamed Sharfi, indicated that there are 63,000 with 500,000 supervisors. Today, elections turnout has been declared by the president of ANI, Mr. Mohamed Sharfi, and our special envoy to the International Conference Center, CIC, Asia Bakar, tells us more about the latest figure. Hello, Asia, can you hear me?
Hi, Mohammed. I can hear you. Can you hear me?
Yes, I can hear you very well. So, Asia, please tell us about the latest figures and the latest turnout as part of today's presidential election, as mentioned or announced by Mr. Sharfi, the president of ANI.
Sure, Mohammed. In the turnout given by the President of the National Independent Authority for Monitoring the Elections, Mohammed Sharfi, 3,078,334 people cast their ballots in Algeria since the opening of polling stations today morning across all the national territory, which means that 13.11% of recorded voters took part in the elections. As for the Algerian community settled abroad, the President of the National Independent Authority for Monitoring the Elections, Mohammed Sharfi, said that 140,015 out of 865,490 recorded voters, which means 16.18% recorded voters, cast their ballots since the beginning of the voting operation abroad last Monday. The turnout is not final, of course, as it is expected to increase this afternoon. We're waiting for the next turnout to be given by the President of the National Independent Authority for Elections in its headquarters here in Algiers to keep our listeners updated. The next turnout will be given at 6:15 p.m. Algiers time. Back to you, Mohammed.
Thank you very much, Asya, and we'll get in contact with you later for the latest figure. Thank you very much indeed. In accordance with the organic law on the electoral system, the poll ends at 7 p.m. on the same day. However, the president of ANI may, at the request of the coordinator of ANI representatives in the various countries' provinces, decide to postpone the time of the closing of the polling stations in certain municipalities or electoral districts in order to facilitate the voting operation. It should be noted that members of the national community established abroad, whose electorate includes 850 or 65,490 voters, 45% women and 55% of men, began voting last Monday. As for voting at the mobile polling stations for nomadic populations and remote areas in the southern provinces of the country, the operation began on Wednesday and concerns 116,064 registered voters across 134 offices in 51 municipalities spread over 16 provinces. For these mobile stations, the vote is brought forward by regulation by 72 hours, 48 hours, and 24 hours in order to allow voters to freely fulfill their civic rights and duties. Meanwhile, the International Press Center, CIP, has mobilized significant material and human resources to facilitate media coverage of the presidential election that are taking place today by making available a press center equipped with cutting-edge technologies for the benefit of local and foreign media such as newsrooms and the high-tech equipment. And in this regard, the Media Coordination Center of the CIP, Ms. Amal Al-Hajji, said that the center had put in place all the necessary human and material resources, particularly technical, to facilitate the mission of local and foreign journalists. The President of the Republic, Ms. Abdelmajid Tebboune, fulfilled Saturday at the Ahmed Arwa School in Bouchaoui in suburbs Algiers his electoral duty as part of the September 7 snap presidential election. At the exit of the polls, after casting his ballot, the President of the Republic, Ms. Abdelmajid Tebboune, made the following statement.
I thank you for your massive participation. Everyone is following Algeria, both locally and abroad, and they have noticed that the electoral campaign was very clean. The three candidates conveyed an honorable image of Algeria and democracy in Algeria. Whoever wins the election will continue the decisive path both for the Algerian state and the Algerian people so that we reach a point of non-return in the economic development and in the building of a genuine democracy and not of slogans.
You are listening to the President of the Republic, Ms. Abdelmajid Tebboune, after casting his ballot. Now the candidate of the Socialist Forces Front FFS in the presidential election, Mr. Youssef Aouchiche, fulfilled today at the Mohamed Saeed Mziani Primary School in the municipality of Assi Youssef in the region of Borni in Tizi Ouzou his electoral duty within the framework of the electoral event. At the exit of the polling station, Mr. Aouchiche said the following.
Today, I'm fulfilling my electoral duty among my relatives, and people building the future starts today by heading to the polls and voting and getting rid of the policy of boycott and despair to build our future by ourselves. My message to all Algerian men and women is that you can contribute in building your future if you vote massively. We call on all the Algerians across the national territory and abroad to seize this opportunity to build our future by ourselves, God willing. Thank you.
For his part, the candidate of the Movement of Society for Peace, MSP, for the presidential election, Mr. Abdel Ali Hassani Sharif, has fulfilled at the Karouche Slimane School in Bir Khadem in suburbs Algiers his electoral duty as part of the electoral process. After casting his ballot, the MSP candidate said the following. We reached today, voting day, in this important presidential electoral process in the country, in which we engaged with a high spirit of responsibility towards the homeland and the people, and towards the political values that we believe in, namely pluralism, freedom, transparency, and political alternation. It's undoubtful that we are today before an important and decisive presidential election in the country's history. Thus, I would like to extend my warm thanks to the Algerian people. Now, the Chief of Staff of the National People's Army, General Saïd Chengriha, carried out his electoral duty on Saturday at the Ahmed Bey School in the municipality of Oued Quraish in Algiers as part of the presidential election. The head of the Council of the Nation, or Senate, Salah Goujil, today went to the polls as part of the presidential elections, which he said carries the concept of the new Algeria. In a statement to the press after casting his ballot, he had the following.
Today's presidential elections, considered a historic day, will translate the genuine concept of the new Algeria in its political, democratic, social, economic and cultural aspects, in line with the content of the November 1st declaration and its slogan, from the people to the people.
That was the Speaker of the Council of the Nation, or Senate, Mr. Salah Goujil. In a similar move, the head of the People's National Assembly, or the Speaker of the National People's Assembly, Brahim Boughali, stressed after voting the importance offered to the Algerian people to choose the one he considered the most entitled to lead the country. He told the press that today's voting offers a major opportunity for the Algerian people. Let's listen to him.
Algeria today witnessed one of its major periods when the opportunity is given to the people to vote and choose who will lead the country for a new term in a democratic and transparent way.
That was the Speaker of the People's National Assembly, Brahim Boughali. For his part, the Prime Minister, Nadir Al-Arbawi, today cast his ballot here in Algiers, and on the occasion called on the Algerian citizens from inside and outside the country to vote massively. Addressing newsmen after voting, he said the following.
I'm
happy today to fulfill my duty as a citizen and elect a president for the coming period. And because the opportunity is offered to me, I urge all the citizens inside and outside the country to go to the polls and to contribute massively and strongly to the elections, which are important as they consolidate the democratic process in our country. And as you know, the voting is taken within a highly tense regional and context, and which could well evolve with the repercussions. But I am confident that the Algerian people will choose the most likely to safeguard Algerian stability, security and development.
That was the Prime Minister, Nadir Al-Arbawi. The Minister of Foreign Affairs and the National Community Abroad, Mr. Ahmed Attaf, fulfilled today at the Ahmed Aroua School or Aroua School in Bouchaoui in suburbs Algiers his electoral duty as part of the country's presidential election. And for his part as well, the Minister of Finance, Mr. Aziz Fayed, fulfilled today at the Ahmed Aroua School in Bouchaoui here in Algiers his electoral duty as part of the country's early presidential elections. And the September 7th presidential election has attracted the attention of the national press with headlines devoting a special edition to the event, stressing the importance of Algerians responding to the call of the nation. Our colleague Mariam Barshid tells us more about this.
Under the headline The Ballot Box of Confidence, the daily newspaper Al Mujahid, which devoted a special edition to the election, called on the Algerians to vote massively for Algeria, listing in a lengthy article the reasons why citizens should be encouraged to exercise their electoral right. The daily newspaper Le Soir d'Algérie, for its part, stressed the importance of the voting, highlighting that the vote by the Algerians living abroad had registered a surge in terms of turnout. The daily Al Watan, which carried the headlines The People Have Their Say, recalled that the candidates for the Supreme Magistracy have, according to observers, carried out a sober campaign away from any incidents or disputes, adding that more than 24 million voters are going to the polls today to elect their President of the Republic. Meanwhile, newspapers in the eastern part of the country devoted their front pages to the September 7th presidential election and on the calls for voters to turn out massively to the polls. Under the headline Algerians elect their president today, the state-owned daily Nasser stressed that more than 24 million voters will go to the polls today to choose the president who will run the country for the next 5 years, while the national community living abroad continues to vote. The newspaper quoted the head of the Independent National Election Authority, ANI, Mohamed Sharfi, saying that the ANI was keen to provide guarantees for the integrity of the elections and respect for the voters' choice, and provided the conditions for organizing the electoral process that complies with the international standards, which represents an additional guarantee concerning the integrity of the elections and an evidence of their credibility. The newspaper Ain Al Jazeera also covered the important national event under the headline Algerians vote to choose their presidents, Ad Sarih, which carried out a headline highlighting that it's time for the people to have their say. On the other hand, newspapers in the western city of Oran stressed in their Saturday editions that the Algerians will make the September 7th presidential election a landmark event by turning out massively to vote in response to the nation's call. Under the headline Algeria Votes, the state-owned newspaper Al Jumhuriya wrote in its editorial that the greatest challenge for the Algerians on September 7th is to turn out in force to silence the plotters who are trying to tarnish Algeria's image and show doubt about its achievements. The newspaper's West Tribune, for its part, wrote in its editorial entitled Meeting with History that today the Algerians have a meeting with the ballot box and with history. In the meantime, the correspondents from several foreign media highlighted the resources mobilized to facilitate coverage of the September 7th presidential election, affirming the interest given to the polls, considering the important role played by Algeria on the international scene. A number of journalists said that the geopolitical conditions facing the world and the Arab region in particular explain the interest granted by the media to this election. For the correspondent of the Turkish television TRT, Ali Rakhdari, the Turkish television is following the presidential election in Algeria with interest, notwithstanding the events that have taken place, notably in the Middle East. He added that the interest reflects the importance of Algeria and its positions in light of the geopolitical developments in the region. The correspondent of the Russian news agency Sputnik, Mohammed Hamida, for his part, stressed the importance of the presidential election on September 7th, which is taking place within an extremely complex regional and international context, praising the material and human resources made available at the Abdelatif Rahel International Conference Center to facilitate the work of the media covering the event. The correspondent for the Tunisian newspaper Sabah Min al-Hirsi stressed the importance of the September 7th elections, stressing that they were taking place in a sensitive international and regional context.
And 3 candidates are vying for the post of President of the Republic as part of the early presidential elections taking place today, September 7, 2024. And to find out more about them, let's listen to our colleague Mariam Barshi.
On their behalf, the citizens of the Southern Province.
Appointed as first secretary of the Socialist Forces Front FFS since July 16, 2020, Youssef Aouchis is running in the presidential election of September 7th with an electoral program placed under the slogan Vision for Tomorrow. Born on January 25, 1983 in Borni Tizi Ouzou, Youssef Aouchis pursued his studies at the University of Algiers, where he obtained a degree in political sciences. At a very young age, he became involved in student activism, where he was one of the leaders of the collective of the autonomous students of the University of Algiers. After obtaining his degree, he worked as a journalist for the press from 2008 to 2012 as a parliamentary attaché from 2012 to 2017. In November 2017, after successfully leading the FFS list in the local elections, he was elected President of the People's Assembly of the Province of Tizi Ouzou, and on February 5, 2022, he was elected member of the Council of the Nation. The independent candidate for the presidential election of the September 7th, Abdelmejid Tebboune, is for his part participating for the second time in such an election with a program placed under the slogan For a Triumphant Algerian. Born on November 17, 1945 in Sharia in the province of Nehma, Mr. Abdelmejid Tebboune began his school career in the province of Sidi Bel Abbas, where his family settled following intimidation and persecution by the French colonizer because of his father's nationalist speeches and his membership in the Association of Algerian Muslim Ulamas. In 1969, he graduated from the National School of Administration, majoring in economics and finance. Mr. Abdelmejid Tebboune held the position of governor of Adrar, Tiaret, and Tizi Ouzou, respectively. He was later appointed Minister Delegate for Local Authorities in 1991, Minister of Communication and Culture in 1999, and Minister of Housing and Urban Planning in 2001. In 2012, he was again appointed Minister of Housing, Urban Planning and the City before taking up the post of Minister of Trade in 2017, and later he was appointed Prime Minister. It's worth recalling that Mr. Abdelmejid Tebboune had run for the country's highest post for the first time in the presidential election of December 12, 2019, and was elected President of the Republic. The third candidate running in this early presidential election is the president of the Movement of Society for Peace, MSP, Mr. Abdelhadi Hasni Sharif, who took part for the first time in the race for the presidential election of September 7th with the program placed under the slogan Opportunity. Born on November 1st, 1966, in Magra, in the province of Msila, Mr. Hassani Sharif is the 5th president of the MSP. He holds a degree in civil engineering obtained in 1992 from the Mohammed Boudiaf University of Msila, as well as a degree in law obtained in 2004 from the same university. The candidate joined the Scouts movement in the 1980s and was active in the student movement at the University of Msila between 1987 and 1992. After graduating, Mr. Hasni Sharif Abdelhadi held various positions within the Public Works Department of Msila and joined from a very young age political and partisan action by campaigning within the local and provincial structures of the MSP. In 1995, he was appointed member of the MSP provincial office in Msila. From 2002 to 2007, he was elected vice president of the People's Assembly of the province and then member of the People's National Assembly APM from 2007 to 2012. Over to you, Mohammed.
Thank you, Mariam. And our colleague Mahfoud Karkar is reporting from the southern province of Ghardaya, where he met several civilians and citizens who cast their ballot. They told him that they have major expectations and aspirations for Algeria. Let's listen to this report by our colleague Mahfoud Karkar from the province of Ghardaya in the south of Algeria.
On their behalf, the citizens of the southern province, Ghordaya, are living the constitutional event, thus of the presidentials. In fact, there are 201,184 electors who will express their vote across 120 centers and 585 offices. As a matter of fact, citizens, mainly the youth, are aware of the challenges.
It is a test to our love and the contribution we can serve to our country in order to enhance its stability and prosperity. This contribution now is that of democratically selecting who leads the country, a necessity for the unity of our home front and for stability.
We all must participate in this decision. Our country, threatened by many enemies in our border, also by election, we contribute in building our nation.
These elections offer vital opportunity to shape the direction of our country, to contribute to the progress and well-being of our communities and the generations to come. Every vote counts in the building of the country we envision.
Voting is a duty. This is how citizens perceive it.
I encourage everyone to participate and cast their vote to promote economic growth, social equality, or some sustainable environment.
We call all the Algerians to participate. I used to participate in election when I was 18 years old. Till now, I will continue in this behavior.
The contribution of everyone is more than a duty. I call on all components of people, of society, to contribute to choose the president of Algeria for the next years.
Several public sectors have mobilized the means for the sake of the presidential success. From Ghordaya, Mahfoud Karkar for Radio Algeria International.
And with this, we come to the end of this news bulletin for today. Time now for a reminder of the major headlines. Polling stations opened today morning at 8 a.m. local time throughout the national territory, where more than 24 million Algerians are called to elect a new president of the Republic for a 5-year mandate. The National Independent Electoral Authority, ANI, and the president of the National Independent Electoral Authority, ANI, Mohamed Sharfi, has said that the turnout during the midday has went over 3 million voters. And the September 7th presidential election has attracted the attention of the national press, with headlines devoting a special edition to the event, stressing the importance of Algerians responding to the call of the nation. That's the end of the news bulletin for today. So we will have another edition at 20 hours local time for the update regarding the presidential election of today. You will be joined by my colleague Jamal Silmani. As for me and my colleague Mariam Barshi, we'll meet you again tomorrow for a fresh edition of our news bulletin in English with more updates. Until then, stay tuned to Radio Algeria International, and bye-bye for now.